I think from our vantage point in the mid 2020s, it's really easy for us to say, after the Cold War ended, it was clear that NATO's mission had been achieved. It should have closed up shop because it was clearly done. And the thing that has struck me looking at materials from policymakers in this period is that there was no obvious moment when the Cold War was over to them. So I think if you talk about the first, H.W. Bush and the 89 to 92 period where he's in power, they arrive in office at a period where there's some hope that the Cold War is ending, right? Reagan and Gorbachev have signed the INF Treaty. Reagan has gone to Moscow. He talks about how it was another time, another era that he called the Soviet Union an evil empire. And Bush comes in with a whole group of people around him who are concerned that maybe Reagan has gone too far. They think the Cold War is still with them. There's huge political crisis in the spring of 1989 over whether or not they're going to modernize a piece of the NATO nuclear force, the short-range nuclear weapons in the alliance's arsenal in the spring of 1989. And so even though there are signs that things are changing, they are still thinking about all the potential ways that the Cold War could be changing, but not necessarily disappearing. And this is where I think it's really valuable for us to remember that they had lived through a period already where people had generally believed that the Cold War was over. And that was in the late 1960s and early 1970s, right? The people had thought the Cold War disappeared, and it did disappear then. And so they were understandably a little risk averse, I think, and skittish to get rid of things that had worked. And so you see in that period tons of references to NATO as a valuable insurance policy,